All right, good fish. Oh yeah, baby. Solid chunk of a bass. Love it. Check that out right there. That is a quality bass right there out of that grass. Exactly the type of scenario I would expect a bass like that to come out of. You know, this outside patch of grass, man. So good. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you today on this channel is how to punch through real thick vegetation. We're going to put the power poles down because I want to talk about this a little bit. So, you know, having the right tackle, super important. You know, having real heavy tungsten weight, you know, ounce to even like 2 ounces. Really important to have that to get through this cover, and then also pegging it to the line so it's not free floating, you know, so it actually sticks with the bait. So the weight and the bait and the hook, everything goes through that cover at the same time. Now, you know, and having, you know, a real good rod is really important. But something that a lot of people overlook is even if you have a really heavy weight, even like a 2 ounce weight, sometimes you're going to come to a grass mat that is so thick that if you don't have the proper, you know, if you don't have the proper technique for getting that weight through that cover, you're going to have a really hard time. So, essentially the technique that you want to pay attention to is you want this, and it may sound simple, but if you really kind of analyze your technique, if you're getting frustrated not getting the bait through the grass, you'll notice that you're doing something just a little bit off. But the technique you want to do is you want, when the bait is the last split section, fraction of a second, when the bait drops down into the water, you want that weight pointing straight down, okay, like a missile. But a lot of people, if you really pay attention to it, they'll have the weight and the bait kind of horizontal and plopping onto that mat, and then they wonder why they're not getting through that grass. So essentially, the way to do this, we're always going to be doing some type of pendulum type pitching motion when you're punching, you know. And you'll watch a lot of guys that punch really well that have been doing it for a long time. I consider myself one of those guys. You know, that was my bread and butter down in Florida. And essentially what you'll see is they'll kind of pitch it out there and stop it and let it just cannonball straight down, missile down into that grass. And that's exactly what you want to do. But I see a lot of people will pitch and they'll try to make this real silent, you know, entry into the water, which is fine for normal pitching. But for punching, what you're doing essentially is you're maintaining too much pressure throughout the pitch. You want to maintain a consistent pressure throughout the pitch up until about this point. And that's when I drop my rod tip and give it slack. Whoa, I just had a little bump on there. You do want to, you know, maintain the pressure for accuracy and just getting out there nice and smooth, okay? But you want to stop it above and then give it slack. Because if you don't give it that slack in the last second, you're essentially going to have that weight still pointing towards you, and it's going to go horizontal onto that mat, and it's not going to just dart, you know, just not going to nosedive into that mat as it should. So make sure that when you pitch it out there, you kind of pause it and give it a little bit of slack, you know, maybe a foot or two above that mat, for it allow it to dart through that grass. That is the proper technique. And yes, it does oftentimes create a little bit more noise, but in this type of situation, I don't think that it's a big deal. You know, for regular flipping and pitching, a soft entry into the water is really important. But for punching mats, it's a necessity to go, you know, to essentially just put that weight through that mat any way possible. And there's sometimes, and I'll move the camera so you guys can kind of see this better. There's sometimes where, you know, in like something thick like I'll pitch it up this high, stop it, so it can go straight down into that mat. And that is pretty much the only way that you can get through. And another thing is, if you're not using the proper technique, you're being forced to have to go up to the biggest weight that you possibly can to get into that grass mat. And the heavier the weight that you use, the more chance that that fish has to shake that bait, shake that hook, or, you know, when you go to set the hook, it pops their mouth wide open. So you want to use the lightest weight possible. I mean, we're fishing some pretty thick vegetation here, and I'm only using a 1 ounce weight because I'm using the proper technique. Doesn't always work this way. Sometimes I do have to go up to a 2 ouncer, but because I'm allowing that thing to nosedive into the mats, I can accomplish the, you know, getting through that no problem at all, and I can catch the fish just like the one I caught. So anyways, guys, that's just a real quick tip. If you're getting frustrated with flipping, pitching, and punching, that it starts with the tackle, but technique is a lot of the equation. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. And also, if you have any questions, drop a comment below. And thank you for your feedback. And yeah, I'm gonna get back to fishing. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm gonna put the tackle that I used today in this video in the description below. And as always, make sure you trust the process.